Welcome to the Leaders of Lasting Impact podcast. I'm Matt Pohl, your host, and I'm really pleased to be joined today by Julian Harris. He is a startup coach, and he's headquartered in London of the UK. And so we're really glad to have you as a guest, Julian.
Thanks, Matt. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so our audience is comprised primarily of business owners of small and mid-sized enterprises around the globe.
Mm.
Our goal today is just kind of help tell some stories of your past, how you're interacting with that marketplace. And so maybe we start off with just a question about your background. I mean, tell us a little bit about your professional background, to kind of get you to where you are today.
Okay, I'll try and keep it brief because it's got a long story.
Okay.
Um, so back at the age of 16, 17, something like that, I decided to go into the law. My dad was you don't have it in the US. He was a barrister. He was an advocate in court, right? He was a barrister. He was very successful. Then after that, he became a judge. He loved the law, still does. He's been retired a decade or so, and he had so much passion for the job. He loved it. It gave him a real sense of purpose and fulfillment. And I think I've been looking for that, or I had been looking for that until I found coaching, which is what I'm doing now. I had 20 years in the law, in-house, working in kind of in-house legal teams for big businesses in the retail sector, in the food sector, in the UK and further afield.
Okay.
And periodically during that time, I would try and get out of the law.
Right.
I tried different things, and I was always thinking, is being a lawyer what I'm meant to be doing with
Right.
my career? I'd never hated it. I know plenty of
Yeah.
good times, but I didn't love it. So then
Okay.
fast forward to 2018, I had a couple of conversations with a coach who was a sister of a business colleague of mine, and it just blew my mind. And I thought, right, this is what I'm meant to be doing with my life.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously that time working in big corporations and that type of that kind of environment
Mm.
is a lot different. Um, this conversation sounded to be like a pivotal moment to kind of get you to see maybe some new opportunities. Explain a little bit just about that transition and what really drew you to the coaching kind of role for yourself.
Yeah. I think so at its heart, coaching is about helping people.
Right.
And it's about having profound transformational conversations with people. And when I kind of traced that through line through my life up to the point where I decided to become a coach, that's what I'd always loved. Excuse me. It's having deep and meaningful conversations with people. And
Okay.
so when I found coaching or coaching found me, I realized I could do that for a living.
Okay.
Yeah. But then I had to make the decision, well, who am I going to coach?
True.
Uh, and although I'd worked all of my professional life in big business, I didn't ever really have a passion for it. Um, I'd always had a fascination with entrepreneurialism. I remember again going back to that dinner table when I was 16, 17, picking up the paper and reading stories about people who had these ideas
Right.
for a new product, a new service, a new way of, a new idea, taking that idea and creating something incredible with it that very often changed the world in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
And I went back to that thinking um, and thought, well, I'm kind of an entrepreneur now, and
True.
I want to coach. I want to coach other entrepreneurs,
Okay.
and that's now what I'm doing.
Okay. Um, when you look at your practice today, it's been what, 5 years now that you've been out on your own?
Pretty much. I started part-time coaching in 2020.
Okay.
So for the first 2, 3 years, I was lawyering part-time and coaching part-time.
Okay.
So it's been 18 months now since I have finally been able to say goodbye to the law,
Okay.
and I'm coaching full-time.
Um, do you miss the law a little bit, or has it been
No.
a clean cut and you are just sprinting forward?
Yeah. Somebody asked me, a few people have asked me, what did it feel like um, when I finally, handed in my notice at my last legal role.
Uh,
And with all due respect to the millions of lawyers out there doing a great job, including my brother, including my dad when he was practicing, I felt liberated,
yeah.
because I could finally devote all my energies to doing the work that I love doing, that gives me that sense of passion and purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense, right? When you're not quite aligned with who you are or your passions, your
Mm.
or capabilities, there's some dissonance there, and that creates a little bit of I don't know. Yeah, it's just,
Ah,
you know, I don't, unhappiness might be too much, but there's just not that joy in what you're doing when you are aligned. There's this passion that comes out of you, and so that's awesome. Um, when you look at your clients today, it's
mm.
18 months in, I'm sure you're still finding your legs a little bit, but are there particular kinds of industries or, where in the life cycle of a business, where do you really get involved with these entrepreneurs?
Sure. So in terms of the industry, I'm industry agnostic.
Okay.
So I'm working with, or I have worked with, just to give you an example, businesses from AI to biotechnology,
Okay.
chemical recycling, um, tech businesses. And that's the beauty of it.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
I love the variety, the variety of industries and the variety of types of people that I meet and work with. And in terms of what those businesses look like, that it's anything really from seed stage to series A to F, really.
Okay.
And if you think about it in terms of headcount, maybe 10 to 100.
Okay. Okay. And in your coaching, given your legal background, do you find a lot of uh, kind of the content or the functional coaching that you do? Is it around the law, or is it broad-based, business coaching as well? Or is it kind of more that leadership, helping the leader kind of coaching?
Yeah, that's a great question. Very little of it has to do with legal work. Every now and again, I'll be talking to, and I can think of one client in particular, where they've got some interesting kind of strategic stuff going on, which is quasi litigious. So
Okay.
I might put my lawyer hat on and ask them a few questions. But really, it's about that personal journey. So my clients tend to be CEO or C-suite.
Okay.
Yeah. And so it's that personal journey, the challenges that are unique, when you're an entrepreneur, when you're running or leading, a startup or a scale up or an SME. And it
Right.
could be anything, right? It's a very lonely place to be. So that's part of it. That often comes in.
Right.
A lot of my clients are married, have kids, and then we talk about the unique demands and challenges of running your business, spending enough time with your partner, you know, having the quality time with the children. It
Right.
could be around communication, uh, freedom, comes into it a lot. A lot
Yeah.
of entrepreneurs do what they're doing because that's what they want. They want freedom. They want the freedom to create what they want, when they want, with whom they want. But
Right.
actually, a lot of the time, that's how they go into it, but they get trapped
Right.
by their own business. So there's a whole array of different types of topics that we explore.
Right. Yeah. If you had to say, kind of quintessential challenge that or pain point that is being brought to you, and you say, I feel like I can help that.
Yeah.
What would be maybe one or two things that you feel like you can really lift the burden or bring
Mm.
insight on?
Yeah. One of the words I hear most often, and I've said it already, is loneliness.
Loneliness. Okay.
And so if you imagine a situation where you're the CEO of a business, it has 50 people. I'm just making it up now. It has 50 people.
Right.
Um, you feel responsible for the livelihoods of everybody.
Yep.
Um, you may not be able to or want to talk to your spouse about it. You know, your friends are doing something completely different. You can't really talk to them about it. You may have an advisory board or a board of directors. You can tell them some stuff, but there's plenty that you don't want to talk to them about.
Right.
It's very lonely.
Yeah.
So who do you talk to? Who can you share the burden with? Who can you think things through with? So
Right.
that's one of the many roles that I play.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, and I think that's a reality, and I would say it's a reality for the vast majority of uh, business owners, small and mid-sized business owners. Um, yeah, I've been fortunate. My wife is my business partner for 20 some years, and that has its own challenges, but
Yeah,
what it does is there's at least you and me and my spouse going through that together so that one's down, the other one is up,
that's right.
one's up, the other one's down, right? So, and I can see where that's not part of the business structure. Um, that you're right. It seems almost oxymoron that you have all these people that are around you, but you're lonely. And
Mm,
that
yeah.
role of having to own everything that I think creates that isolation, right?
Yeah, and in some senses, the more people that you have around you, the more lonely it can become.
That's interesting, right?
Mm,
Right. Um, As far as how you bring value and assist these lonely CEOs,
mm.
um, what do you rely upon? Do you have like methodologies that you've gleaned from others? Is this kind of a framework that you've put together based on your own experience or what you're seeing that's working? What kind of what
Yeah.
do you rely on?
Uh, it's a mixture of lots of different things.
Okay,
And I suppose when I think about it more carefully, it's the experience of 20 years as a lawyer in big business, the
right.
experience of coaching lots and lots of people, you know. But ultimately, what it relies on, for me, this is the way I work, is creating um, a safe space for people to be able to feel comfortable immediately talking to me, being vulnerable, to be able to share their concerns, their worries, their anxieties with me. And then from that point, it's about my own intuition, some of the tools of the trade,
Okay,
but also what I don't want is to have a templated approach so that I give the same thing to everyone that works with me. So
right.
it's about finding the right question or the
Mhm.
right tool or the right resource that my client needs at that time, right? And so it, how I talk to each client is different every single conversation, depending on what they bring.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, no, that does make sense. And especially since you're working with the individual, right? The
Mm,
individuals have a lot more variety than maybe a business entity might have. And I believe in kind of the idea that sometimes all it takes is the right question to bring
yeah,
up the right idea to
yeah,
create a whole new perspective on something that somebody's been struggling with. So questions are key to making those key discoveries.
Absolutely. And observations as well.
Sure.
Um, we all have our blind spots,
Yep.
right?
And biases,
And
right?
and biases and
Yeah.
judgments that we make about ourselves and other people, perspectives of looking at the world.
Right.
And all of these are often hidden from us,
Hmm.
and they imprison us in some way. You know, I
Right.
had a great quote uh, from Doctor Who. Actually, I don't know if you're a Doctor Who fan.
Yes. Oh,
Uh, one
absolutely.
one of this is a number of years back, but one of the characters says to the Doctor, "We all carry our prisons around with us."
Hmm.
And that line, I was just writing about it yesterday. That line really resonated with me
Yeah.
because we do. We are trapped by our own thinking,
Mhm.
positive and negative,
Sure.
about the world, and
Yeah.
and that informs how we behave, how we interact with other people, how we think about ourselves. So some of my work, I think about it as liberating my clients from their own, right, their own negative thinking or their own biases or judgments.
Right. No, that's so true. Uh, if you would, obviously keeping client information in confidence, could you share a story or two about a coaching client, and just
Mhm.
particularly look interested in, how did you have a long lasting impact on that client?
How do I have a long-lasting impact? So I'm now thinking about the clients. I don't know if this is the right response to the question, but I'm thinking about clients with whom I've been working for a long time.
Okay.
That's not necessarily the right way of thinking about it. So actually, I'm going to pivot,
Okay.
like all business people do, and I'm thinking now about one of my clients in particular, and we had a very spiritual exchange, not religious, spiritual. Um, so this person is very closed.
Okay.
They find it very difficult to open up generally,
Hmm.
and even to their spouse.
Okay.
And so I, um, over a period of time, had been encouraging them to do that. And so a couple of things happened. On one occasion, they said to me, I did what you have been asking me to do.
Right.
And my wife was so happy. You know, she said, I wish you would do this more often.
Right.
So it changed in some way the kind of fundamental dynamic of their relationship. And then after that as well, he he said to me, he basically recounted a dream that he'd had, a conversation with with God,
Okay.
his God, and it gave him what he needed in
Okay.
the face of kind of an extremely stressful period of time in his business. It gave him a sense of calm and well-being that he needed. And he said to me, I wouldn't have been able to have had that experience
Right.
had you not helped me create the space inside in order for me to be able to have that. Right. So there's a really that so the work had, to answer your question, a long-lasting, profound impact, both personally and professionally.
Yeah, no, that's great. And a lot of times we think as CEOs more think of ourselves and our companies more like a machine, right? That we have to tinker with, and we just have to get the gears just right, and we're just
Mm.
part of that, and we just have to fix things, and we lose this really the human dynamic, right? This fact that we are these creative, spiritual, whatever beings that need that we're more than just the work. There's
Yeah.
there's a deeper part in there, and if we just kind of push that off for too long, that's maybe our prison, to use your
Mhm.
language, and being able to free up and see that there's more, that there's space, like you said, to be able to receive that insight, that reassurance, to calm the heart a little bit there. No, I mean, we don't think of business in that way, right? That's not
No, we don't, and we should. Let's not get away from the fact that every good business needs its systems, needs its processes in order to function. But at
sure.
the end of the day, business is personal. Business is about human being,
Right,
excuse me, human beings and human relationships.
right,
And for me, this is my personal belief, the best leaders are those that embrace the kind of spiritual nature of leadership, by which I mean, um, first of all, looking inward and understanding themselves and understanding how they work,
right,
and dropping the judgments they make about themselves so they can be more empathetic and more vulnerable. But beyond that, it's creating an environment where there is a profound emotional connection between people within the business,
right.
and also an understanding that they're all driving towards something bigger than themselves. So that's what I mean by kind of the spiritual nature of leadership.
Right, right. Um, as we kind of wrap up our conversation today, let's say you're having a tea across the table from somebody who's a business leader, an
Mm.
SE of a SME. Um, what, and I'm sure you'd be asking questions initially, but
Always.
what kind of a piece of advice, maybe it's about the questioning, but what might be kind of a universal piece of advice that you see resonates with most business
Mm.
owners?
Yeah. So there are so many. The first one that comes to mind is around self-care. Um, and if any of my clients are listening to this, watching this, I apologize because you will have heard this from me many times before. I really like the metaphor of, when you go on an airplane
Yes.
or an aeroplane, as we say this side of the pond,
Okay.
and the safety announcement happens before you take off, and they talk about the oxygen mask coming down,
Right.
and the advice is put your oxygen mask on before helping others with theirs, right? And for me, that's the metaphor for life generally, but especially CEOs, business owners.
Right.
If you don't take care of yourself, you can't properly take care of your business, your family, your friends, your community.
Right.
So self-care is paramount. And
Mhm.
however that self-care looks differently to different people, however it looks, make sure you create the time in your working week for yourself.
Right. So true, right? I mean, how can you lead and grow an organization if you are becoming weaker and more stressed and less healthy as you go, that
That's
those need to
right.
be going in parallel.
Yeah.
And uh, and as you grow your business and grow your people around you, it should get in some ways easier, right? As you're able to delegate, as you're able to grow that next layer within your organization, there should be, well, it should be different at least, right? It's
Yeah, different challenges, different
right, right.
challenges,
It's just
different
not
different
more and more of the
opportunities.
same.
Yes, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay, Julian. Well, this has been great. If somebody wanted to reach out to you about your coaching services and
Mhm.
they've heard something today that resonated and they thought, okay, maybe I am carrying around my prison. Maybe I do need to work on uh, self-health to make sure I'm a strong person and can serve as the leader of my SME. What's a good way for people to get a hold of you?
Sure. So there are a couple of ways. I'm on LinkedIn. So hopefully you'll be able to find me at Julian K. Harris. So just the letter K, Julian K. Harris.
Okay.
Send me a DM, have a look at some of my content if you're interested. But listen, there are no barriers to entry with me. So if you want a direct communication with me, you want to have a conversation with me, send me an email. It's that easy. So my email address is julian@juliankharris.co.uk.
Okay. What's the ending part there again?
Yeah, it's .co, so .co.uk.
Okay, just want to make
Yeah.
sure. Okay. Okay, well, that's great, Julian. I appreciate your time. It's always great to speak to somebody on the other side of the pond. And, we continue to wish you success as you do an important part, really working with and alongside the leaders that are leading these organizations that have a profound effect on the people that they employ and the communities they serve. So it's a real big part of, I think, of every economy, but also each society that these people play an important role and impact us. So that's why we're so passionate about helping small and mid-sized business owners and entrepreneurs, because they're just a big linchpin in our society, in our opinion. So,
Yeah, for sure, Matt. I've really loved talking to you. Thanks for having me on.
okay. Okay, thanks again for joining us today on the Leaders of Lasting Impact. We appreciate you listening in, and I'm sure you've got some good food for thought here with Julian. I encourage you to reach out to him if you have some interest there, and hopefully you'll join us on our next podcast. See you soon. Bye.